Hello, I'm Pam Hoffman, Everyday Spacer.
I'm Jeff Miller, 2049 Outfitters.
At Everyday Spacer, we show regular folks how to personally and directly participate in space exploration, science, and astronomy. We're here on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Pacific time, 12 midnight Eastern time, and 5 a.m. on Saturday in London. We're broadcasting live from Thousand Oaks, California. Thank you so much for joining us. I am really excited. We have a guest, Gail Ann Springer. Stay tuned. We'll be back in about 8 seconds. Help us welcome Dale Ann Springer. Dale Ann Springer is part of Hubble history. Oh, we have comments already? Let me introduce her at least. Hi, Dave. Welcome. She's part of Hubble history. She worked with Lawrence Livermore and Sandia Labs and more. Dale was the first female vice president at Ultra Tech Stepper and took them to $100 million in 3 years. Let's hear her interesting, dynamic story and learn how she is using NASA technology to help people right now. Dale, please give us an overview of your history, how it's intertwined with the space industry, and what you're doing with what you've learned over the years to help people right now. I can't wait to hear more.
Oh, thank you very much. This is really exciting for me to be on your show. I really avoid public speaking, but I think the research and information based on NASA's research is so profound that it's really important to share with people. But let me start back at the very beginning of my career or my childhood. When I was in the third grade, I didn't know how to read because I was dyslexic. I'm still dyslexic today, but not to the profound level of not being able to read in the third grade. So it's always been, science has always been interesting to me. When I figured out that I was so different than everybody else in my ability to read and how I saw things. When I was 16, I was really fascinated with science. I became the youngest person to pass the FCC first class radio operator's license and became a disc jockey and engineer at 16 with my own show on KDFM FM in Walnut Creek. And
wow.
One of my shows was called Never on Sunday. And so I had to learn all the old folks music, and I really had fun doing that. And that really kind of took me out of my little shell there. I graduated from college. I had a degree in life science, and I was working on my master's in behavioral science, and a teaching job came up with in science and math. And I said, oh man, I have to do that. Now remember, I'm 75 years old. And when we were young ladies, we all were geared to teaching school. So I went out there and did my teaching school thing. And I taught science and math, and I did auto mechanics for an elective because I had always worked on my own car. My dad said, if you want a car, here it is, but you got to fix it. So I did. And cool. So for the first 2 years was fine. But I realized that there were still other things that I really needed to do. When we did our physics class, I took the kids flying in a private airplane to show them what centripetal force was and G-force and going weightless. And I was just fascinated with that. And I hoped that the kids would be too. Then I decided I just needed to get out there and see more of the world. It was just, there was just too much out there. I took a job with Becton Dickinson, selling products to bacteriology and tissue culture labs. Had a lot of equipment that I sold. And that's where I first started going to the Berkeley Lawrence Livermore labs, meeting all the scientists and everybody that was a salesperson. They just write down that they went and made these sales calls. Man, I could hardly wait to get out there to go make a sales call and sit with the scientists and learn everything they had to say. I worked 24/7 on it. And I had my boss finally said, Dale, you're going to have to take Fridays off because you're making us all look bad. And so stop doing that. So then I found out that I loved equipment. So I went to work for Coherent doing lasers and high grade optics. Again, I was fascinated by going to Lawrence Livermore labs. I got to go to the NIF project, got inside the NIF laser, sold optics and all kinds of products for their program. I got to sell optics to the Hubble Space Telescope group. It was just amazing stuff. And then as part of that program of selling optics and working with the Lawrence Livermore Labs and Sandia, I came to know the high-tech semiconductor industry. And one of my customers was doing 1X lithography. Well, I was fascinated with that too. I was going like, oh man, I'm like in hog heaven here. How could anybody get anything better than this? And I actually landed a job there with Ultratech Stepper when it was a startup. I was the 5th employee, and it's 1X lithography, and we did the photograph the pattern onto the semiconductor chip. Being the first woman vice president of a high-tech semiconductor, I didn't even know it was unusual. I just thought it was an extraordinary, fantastic opportunity. I traveled the world. I went to every single semiconductor house, and I learned so much about making semiconductor chips and technology. It was mind-blowing. So there's so much out there that we get ourselves so programmed to thinking that, we're going to be a teacher, and then we just go do that and we fit a mold. But if we just let ourselves go and we just can get out there and do it, it moves us, we can have extraordinary experiences.
Yep.
So everything was going along really well. I did another startup semiconductor house. I did another company. We took it public, and then I worked for venture capitalists for a long time doing due diligence on next generation technology. And it really, and as a side project, we built 5 houses, big ones, with our own hands, right down to the foundation, tying the steel, putting in the electrical. There was just nothing. If I could build another house today, I know I'm 75, but if I could do another house today, I'd jump on that. It's so much fun. So after we did all that, I did all the traveling. We were working on a house, and I had a big load of PVC pipe, 20-foot pieces long, and I was carrying them. And I went down a hill and shattered my leg, and my foot wasn't in the front anymore. And that was the beginning of a whole new world. I sat in a wheelchair with my leg up for 2 years. I was in extreme pain. I gained 100 pounds. And I said, if I can't solve this pain thing, because I'm not taking any more drugs, I'm just not doing this anymore. So the very first thing I did a lot of research on how to manage pain. And I learned that the mind is really powerful, and that we could use frequency following response technology using single wavelength blue light technology at 485 nanometers, and that we could actually create an environment in our mind that would allow the pain to be blocked. And I created a company that's been about 16 years now. I have 900 guided meditations, and they're on every single topic you can think of, but they're mostly focused on doing something that would benefit an individual. Now we do have, the fun things like golf, golf like a pro, but we have dealing with depression, PTSD, ADHD for anybody, kids to adults. We have programs for learning for kids. Did a fantastic program with children. Well, they weren't children, they were high school kids, to learn calculus, the DNF students, and how using the guided meditation and the frequency following response technology, how they all got A's and B's and learned calculus, and nobody could believe that they did that. But there's so much about the single wavelength frequency. We would flash the lights, right eye, left eye, and we'd take the frequency slower and slower. We'd go to beta wide awake first, and then we'd take them into alpha. You go to alpha 25% of the time every day when you're doing something that you enjoy, or you're having fun, or you're daydreaming and you forgot how you got down the freeway. That's alpha. Then we take you down into theta, and that's where they say, let's go meditate, and let's do Om. And you go, I can't get there from here. Well, we get you there in 15 minutes. So you don't even have to be a monk. We can just use the light frequency to get you there. And amazing things happen to the mind and the body when you do that. The body lets go of all the adrenaline and cortisol. So you flush those stress hormones from your body. You increase your serotonin by about 25%. And you reset your body chemistry. Your body thinks you've had about 2 hours of sleep. It feels great. You feel great. But an amazing thing has happened. And also physically has happened. Your body is really refreshed. And for kids, if you're young, it resets your chemistry. So now you're not out of control. ADHD or growth hormones. You're not being monsters. You're back to being a regular person. And so it helps everybody, no matter what stage in life we are in. So, so that was the very first thing. Then I learned how to use the that frequency technology to create the vision of white in my mind. If you get white in your mind, now I hope I don't offend anybody by saying if you get white in your mind, you're not passing over or seeing, you know, something. You're actually, your mind is protecting you from pain. And you will not feel pain for maybe 30 minutes to up to an hour and a half if you've been in a crash or something has happened to you. But to be able to create that white in your mind is really critical to being able to manage pain. Now, starting in World War I and World War II, the military was using the ability for people to create white in their mind. So if they became injured or something occurred to them, they would not suffer. So people were using it very productively. Today, even at Norfolk Medical Hospital, well, every hospital actually uses white or the technology of doing that so that people don't have, if they can't have anesthesia when you're having a surgery, you can control the pain without having to have the anesthesia, because you can't have anesthesia and have brain surgery. So not everybody can do that. It's a bell-shaped curve. 10% can do it. And X-rays, no, it's not X-rays. It's 45 nanometers blue light, single wavelength frequency, not 450.
Oh, okay. Because he AC thinks that 45 nanometers is in the X-ray range.
No, we're 485. 485 is blue light, single wavelength frequency. No, we're not in X-ray. No, we could never use X-ray for the eyes.
Oh, no.
Yeah. No. So I created a technology, a whole program using blue light. I have glasses. We flash the lights. We use the guided meditation. So that's where you combine what you're saying, what the mind can do, and with what the brainwave frequency you're at. So if you're in the brainwave state of theta, that's where Tesla, Einstein, and all the big thinkers would go when they would take a nap. They weren't going there because they were tired. They were going there because they knew that all the magic, the learning, the inventions didn't come from while we're talking together. They would come when you were actually in the brainwave state of theta. So if you're a student, actually, if you learn something and you sleep before you take a little nap, your short-term memory is affected in that area. Then you throw out all the junk and then you keep whatever it is that you want. So if you've actually learned how to do that, you can do really well in school. So we have an accelerated learning program that you can actually do while using the blue light technology. And it's a guided meditation. And there's 12 sessions to do that with. So I learned how to manage the pain, and that was really great. But you know what? I still didn't walk. I was still overweight. And I was like, yeah, well, you know what? It's okay. But, you know, I'm not like really happy about this. So one day, one of my clients called me and she said, my blue light glasses, we call it iZone Eyewear, and it's private labeled by tons of people. Planet Beach calls it Cloud9, and the Health Source doctors called it the BRD, and Kevin Harrington from the Shark Tank called it the InvisiCoach. So there's 100 names out there that we had the product out as. But anyway, she calls me up and she says, oh, the lights are broken and I have to have it because I do all this body sculpting. And I go, body sculpting? What in the world is that? So I went out there, just close to, it's about an hour from where I live. So I said, I give myself a day off. I'll go out there and see what she's doing. So I went there and she's on the second floor. And I go, there is no way in the world that I can get up those stairs. And she said, it's going to change your life. Get yourself up here. I said, I can't. She says, I'll drag you up if you don't do it. So I came up the stairs, dragged myself up there, laid on these single wavelength red light mats and said, okay. And I put my own blue light glasses on and to do the stress reduction, because it really reduces the stress. And so I laid down and did the treatment, stood up, stood on the full body vibration machine, vertical vibration, and walked down the stairs like I was a normal person, and absolutely could not believe it. Wow. So next thing I needed to do was figure out what was that and why does it work? So I did a lot of research on single wavelength red light. Turns out that this is where NASA comes in. Turns out that NASA when they said, let's go to space, they said, what do we need? And everybody goes, I don't know. So they started doing research, and they found out they needed single wavelength red light. Not Christmas tree bulb red light, but single wavelengths, 600, 660, 630, 850, those single wavelengths. If you went to space and you did not have those wavelengths, guess what? You die. So pretty simple, you would think, but it took them a long time to figure that out. But here's a big deal. So they figured all that out, and then they went, I wonder why that works. So in 1998, there was a Nobel Prize that was given out when they figured out what the actual chemistry was. So the red light, what it's doing is it actually, when it reduces inflammation in the body first. And then what it really does is when you have red light, it hits after it's removed the inflammation or hit the cells, it releases ATP, which causes the cells to regenerate. And that is the actual mechanism for aging, or the equivalent of anti-aging. So as we get older, it turns out that we only use about 25 to 30% of the red light that enters our bodies, and that we cannot we can't do anything to slow the aging, except that the red light is what's responsible for it. So it is a natural body process. So they gave a Nobel Prize for the chemistry that actually causes this to occur.
So Dale, is you said ATP?
Yes,
what does that mean?
Well, it's a chemical that's released by the cell, and it causes the cells to start to regenerate. So if you could cause that to occur naturally, guess what? You could really cause the body to regenerate. And I'm going to put something else in here that I wasn't going to tell you about at this early stage, but that is the mechanism for regenerating people's eyes that have macular degeneration. So there's a lot of research been going on, and there's really, if you go to the National Institute of Health's website, there's probably 10,000 papers, and there's probably 50,000 papers that have been written on red light technology, single wavelength, not broadband, but single wavelength. And one of the things that they're doing, no, I'm not doing anything with the nation's nuclear deterrent. That's for sure. I'm not smart enough for that. But anyway, so if you go and you have you put the 660 nanometer red light up against the face eyes with your eyes closed, it can solve the macular degeneration. And there's been several studies. A 91-year-old man that we were working with actually got his sight back 100%. It took a year, and the most interesting thing that they learned was that they'd been doing the research for a long time, and sometimes it would work and sometimes it wouldn't. And what they finally determined was that the time of day that you use the single wavelength red light, 660 nanometers, is critical. You have to do it between 8 and 9 in the morning, because when we were evolving, for some reason, our eyes picked up the frequency of red light at that time of the day, or that angle. And so that's why, and that's what he did, the 91-year-old, and that his eyes are, it was done by a research lab down in San Diego, very famous, but I'm not supposed to say the name. And then they went to then he went to another ophthalmologist. They looked at his eyes. And he said, he's 91. And he said, wow, those look like 40-year-old eyes. Wow. And so I have a patient in my drug-free pain clinic where I use red light therapy, who's doing the treatment for the red light. And I said, this is going to be just a crapshoot here. We're going to just do what we're going to do and see if it works. If it works, great. If it doesn't, oh, well. It's a bell-shaped curve. 10% will work immediately, and 10% will never work, and everybody's in between. So in 3 weeks, she went from being legally blind, using a cane, blind cane, to coming in and saying, oh my God, I can see my fingernails. I'm going, great. And then she starts in about all the things she could see and how excited she was. And then about on the 4th week, she brings in a set of playing cards and she shuffles them and she says, I bought these at the blind store, and when I could not see, and here I'm going to show you I can see them. And she flips them out, starts dealing them out, and she starts to say what they are. Now she's 84, and I was so astounded for her. I just I couldn't believe it. So anyway, let's go back to what NASA was doing with the red light. So there was one of the things that I learned when I was at the Lawrence Livermore Labs in Sandia is that the scientists, if they've developed a technology and they get the okay from the federal government or whatever group is funding their research, they can actually sell it and use it commercially for their own benefit. And I found that to be quite fascinating. So I'm sure that there's somewhere along the line that the red light has become something along those lines of people doing a lot of research in the aerospace industry and coming up with that technology. So the second thing that NASA said, well, okay, we're going to need red light to go to space. Do we need anything else? And they thought about it and they said, well, we're on a gravity Earth, and if we go into space, we come back mush. That's not going to work.
Nope.
So they did a lot of research on how to strengthen the body and keep the muscles and bones and ligaments and everything strong. And they came up with vertical vibration. Now, it's not a shaky machine because that's one of the things that just rocks me is if you go on the internet right now, you'll see probably 30 companies that are selling red light therapy. And you buy it, and you know what it is? It's full spectrum red light, and it's only got it does have 660 and 850 in it, but thousands of other wavelengths, so it doesn't do anything. It's just a heating pad. And so the same kind of thing has happened with the vertical vibration. It has to be vertical. It's expensive to make vertical vibration, as opposed to let's stand on a shaky machine and we'll sell it for $69. It's just, it makes me laugh. So on my websites, I never bother to put up anything about what the technology is because, they're just going to knock it off. So if somebody wants to call me, I'll tell them and I'll get them what they need. So the vertical vibration was really important. It's a very important health step for mankind, and not just going to space, but here on Earth. So once I learned about that, I put a protocol together for using vertical vibration, red light therapy, and blue light therapy to reduce the stress in the body. And before I'll tell you all the benefits of vertical vibration, and you'll be astounded, other than it just does everything. If you do a program and you want to know what the impact is going to be on the body, if you go and you look at 80 to 90%, or the National Institute of Health and the CDC will tell you that 80 to 90% of all illness is based on stress and inflammation. In other words, that's what causes 80 to 90% of everything that goes wrong with us. So, occurred to me, if the blue light glasses reduce the stress, take away the stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol, and increase your serotonin level and balance your body chemistry, that's reducing the stress. If you lay down on the red light pads and did a treatment, well, that reduces the inflammation, helps the body release the toxins from anything that's occurred. And then if you stand on a vertical vibration, then you're going to move all those toxins out of the body, and then you're going to strengthen your areas where you need it. So the different wavelengths of red light are really critical to how it manages the pain drug-free. So if you're looking at skin level, our skin is very thin, so you need about 600 to 660 nanometers for doing skin. And you could do your facial, and there's hundreds of products for doing facials with 600 nanometers. But the problem is that they have 5 LEDs. They can't do anything. It's just a joke. And they don't have enough power, not enough milliwatts per centimeter squared. They're just silly. So I did a little study on that and found out, well, you have to have a really high level of power. And if you want to get really deep into the fix your knees, I did my knees. I was supposed to get surgery to have my knees replaced. And they said, if you get your knees replaced and you're 70, when you're 80, you're going to have to do it again. And I don't think you're going to want to do that. So that's when I knew that I did figure out a way to make sure that the knees were not going to have to be replaced again. So knowing that you needed 850 to go deep and remove the inflammation and cause the cells to start to regenerate there, you needed probably, to do knees, you need two semiconductor chips of 850 and maybe one of 660. So each area is a little bit different because the penetration is different. So the skin is only 660 and it's 5 minutes. But if you're doing knees or something really like sciatic nerves, you'll need to go much deeper. So you need the 850s. So the chips, the LEDs are actually manufactured as a semiconductor from companies like Siemens, and they put 3 single wavelength LEDs on a chip, and then you put those on the mats. So a little tiny mat, my little tiniest mat that I use in my clinic, has 840 LEDs with a radiance of 64. Wow. And so they're very powerful, and it also has a dimmer on it so that you can control the power level. If you're a little thin person, you don't want to have it so hot. If you're a little bitty fatter person, you want it really hot. Let's get down to those knees. So, and if you're doing your sciatic nerves. So you have to have a protocol on how you're going to do this. So then after you do the treatment and you've released all the toxins from the body, now remember that people actually use it for body sculpting. So they actually melt the fat, and then they have you stand on the vibration machine to get the fat to move to the lymphatic system so you could have it leave the body. Well, that's really cool. But if you're doing it for pain management, and it could be any kind of pain, sciatic nerve, back pain, anything, I'm surprised every time we do something that, even though there's research on it, that it actually, gout, all kinds of stuff is just amazing to me. Anyway, so you go stand on the vibration machine and flush the toxins. Now, all of us as in this environment, in this day and age, we all need to take more care for ourselves. Self-care is becoming more predominant. In fact, it needs to be the wave of the future. We cannot rely on pharmaceutical companies to solve our problems, because we do all kinds of we don't do enough testing actually to see how sensitive we are to antibiotics, for example. What we do is we just say, oh, you got a staph infection. Okay, here, take this one.
Yep.
We don't even bother to check
too many side effects too. That's the thing.
Right. And if we're running out of antibiotics because we're making so many drug resistant ones come up.
Yeah.
So what they really need to do is just stop all the silliness and do qPCR testing or PCR testing, because that's based on our DNA. It's 100% accurate. Well, 99.999, unless somebody screwed up. Whereas some of the swabs and things are only like 30% accurate. I mean, how can we live our lives on 30%? That's ridiculous. So anyway, when you go back and you look at standing on the vertical vibration, I get carried away sometimes. I have really things that really are passionate.
We're accumulating the comments, so when you want to take a break, you want to drink some water, we'll flash them.
So when you stand on the vertical vibration, what it's doing is it's exercising the entire body. In 10 minutes, it's the equivalent of exercising really hard for an hour in the gym. Wow. And it's working all the way to the top of the head. So we're increasing our body circulation lowering our blood pressure, but increasing the circulation in the brain for people like myself in an active adult community. We all get a little, fog. And so we try to make sure that we increase that blood flow to the brain so that we don't have the issues that we have by sitting down for 2 years with COVID. And the other thing that happens is it strengthens every bone and every ligament and every muscle in your body. So when I went up those stairs at that clinic to sit on, to lay down on that blue light, red light bed, that was really nice and I enjoyed it. And then I stood on the vibration machine, and if I hadn't been hanging on, I'd have been flat on the floor. I had no idea that having sat down for 2 years, I had no body strength, no balance, nothing. I was lucky I could get across the room. So the one thing that I learned is that the vertical vibration increases your balance. And it does that by strengthening the bones, the muscles, and all the tissue around so that you can stand up. And if you do trip, you have the strength to catch yourself and not fall down. Or if you do fall down, you're not going to hurt yourself as bad. So even though I'm still overweight, I have lost 50 pounds. I stand on the vibration machine pretty much every day. And so I was pulling the hose really hard, and I was getting so cussing that thing that it just wouldn't come. And I was so mad. All of a sudden it lets go, and I go flying and land on the concrete. I went, whoa. And I laid there for a while because I knew what falling down was. It cost me 2 years in a wheelchair, and I'm going like, oh no, please God, don't be having a bunch of broken bones. So I'm laying there on the ground, and the neighbors are walking down the street, and they're visiting with me. And pretty soon Ann says, "What are you doing on the concrete?" I said, "Well, I fell down." She goes, "Do you need help getting up?" And I said, "I hope not. Let me give it a try." So I stood up. Not one thing was wrong. Not a scratch. Not anything on me. I went, "Oh, thank God." That's because
Wow.
I have good muscle and good body strength from the vertical vibration. The vertical vibration also increases the bone density about 25 to 30%, which is really important, especially if you're going to space.
Yep.
The importance of it to every human being's overall health is critical. I can't even imagine anything that is more essential to everyday life, better than taking a bath every day or shower or whatever, than standing on that vertical vibration machine.
Okay.
The benefits just exceed. And so NASA was totally right about going to space, need two things: vertical vibration and red light therapy. And I'm sure there's other things that they've really come up with, but for me, that is the protocol that I put together so that there is a method to be able to do that you could do for yourself as self-care. So I have little take-home programs. I have little very high density red mats, the little small ones with the 840 LEDs that is power controlled, that people take home so that if they start a program, they can actually increase the results, because I only want to work 3 days a week. I don't want to work every day. So I'm pretty lazy about that, but I just want everybody to be good. So I had another 91-year-old that came in, and he was in a wheelchair, and he rolled in, and I went, oh dear. And 4 months later, he's walking with swinging his cane, and his friends are saying, "Hey, Cecil, what are you doing? Are you working out for a marathon?" And he goes, "Oh no," he says, "I'm way past that." I said, "Cecil, tell me, what was your goal?" And he said, "So I could stand on one leg and put my pants on." And he could do that. Oh my God. And he couldn't walk when he first came. And he said, "And the second thing, drive my brand new car." And he's doing both of those.
Okay. Dale, we have a bunch of questions.
A lot of questions.
Okay, go ahead.
And thank you, everyone, for your patience. We're really glad you're here. We will get to everyone. I know Scott had a comment about the sound. Thank you very, very much. Really appreciate that. And AC had a few things.
Yeah.
Hi, Cliff.
AC was talking about the 450 versus the 45
Right.
nanometers. I think that was just a misspeak. But David asks, because how does the Hubble come into the equation? Did you work with the Hubble or the Hubble crew?
Yes, I was a salesperson for Coherent, and I actually sold them optics. And I would go to their production facility, and I just really had a great time. And I'm so sorry that they didn't flatten that they used the wrong measurements to put the surface areas flat. And I watched that thing constantly, and I just, I know I sold glass, or we called it glass in those days. High grade optics is probably the better word today, but we called it glass. And just watching that thing being built and talking with the scientists every day was what a thrill.
And I know when we were talking, you were mentioning how all these things sort of contributed to the work you're doing now. You realized that, there was kind of this path to bring me to where I am now. I remember you were saying, what did Dave have?
Okay. She just did expand on her Hubble involvement. What do you think?
Thoughts on his intended demise. Ooh.
Well, everything has a cycle and a lifespan. There's nothing sometimes we can do. We do the best we can. And they did it. You know what? I have to just praise those people that they got this far. That is extraordinary to me. I mean, if you sat down, it was, in those days, it wasn't as extraordinary as it really turned out to be, because everybody would just be talking about the science and what kind of optics they needed for the next thing. And it was kind of like everybody was working on it, and you were part of the conversation. Now, I didn't build it. I just supplied optics. I'd go back to the factory and say, this is what they need. What do you think? Can we do that? And they go, well, I don't know. Let's give it a shot. And then they opened up that new factory for Coherent up in Auburn, and they had all kinds of new stuff that they could do. So it was really, it was more. I mean, but I'm not a scientist in that respect. I couldn't design any of the optics. I could communicate the information and ideas, but I certainly couldn't help them in any way in the design. I just contributed by making sure that if we could make the optics, we could. And that's how I got the job doing the photolithography. Oh, Perkin-Elmer. I love Perkin-Elmer. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, AC has a bit of an opinion about that, though. Yeah.
Did I get it wrong, Miriam? And I grounded
something else.
Certainly get that. Yeah, I forgot all about Perkin-Elmer. They also had not a stepper, but they had a photolithography piece of equipment. So we were the next generation when I did the 1X lithography with Ultratech stepper. Perkin-Elmer was, for me, I like to look down my nose at them as I'm doing the leading edge technology thing. So, but they were very, very, very powerful company. Wonderful engineers. They just did a great job. But you can't.
Sorry,
you can't win
I'm
everything.
having trouble with the connection.
Oh.
Please try again in a moment.
Whoa.
So are
Something
we off the air with you?
No, we can hear you still. It sounds like something else came over with you.
I don't have anything else on here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and occasionally you've been cutting out and then coming back. Like for like a couple to 5 seconds. 2 to 5 seconds you'll cut out, then come back. So we had some trouble a couple weeks ago.
Oh yeah.
And but we were trying to talk to people in Australia. So, but
and they had storms.
Yeah, and they had storms. So, might be some of the same thing, or it might be something else going on. Okay, so next up, can you touch on Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory taking part in NASA's first ever planetary defense testing by deliberately colliding a spacecraft into the asteroid?
I was not part of that. I was just doing the NIF project with them, where they were doing the National Ignition program, try to recreate the same energy creation on the sun. They were trying to do it here on Earth.
Ah.
Wow.
Okay.
Did you have some others?
Yeah.
It looks like a pretty good list going.
Yeah.
And thank you very much, everyone. Hi, Deanne.
Wasn't the mini trampoline a NASA proven health research development too?
Oh.
Quite possibly. I don't know if that's true or not, but it could very possibly be, because vertical vibration was everything that they were focused on.
Right. And that seems to be a way of getting impact without shaking the whole station.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Although the vibration machines that I have right now are pretty amazing. They're very small. Then you could just shoulder width. You can get them huge, of course, but and they're pretty heavy.
Yep.
And I saw Daniel's comment, and there is other things that Dale has talked to me about with longevity. So do you have some more, Jeff, there? I see Tex has something.
Tex is saying that he can hear just fine, so that's good.
Oh, good. Yeah. Excellent.
So this time, Texas or Australia is, your name's messing me up, Tex. Australia's getting good signal, but we aren't. That's fun. Okay.
We'll manage.
I think David has one that I'm not going to put up here, but it was a call to actually answer some of the questions. So that's
okay.
Not going to flash that one up because we pretty much took care of that.
They're talking to each other in the chats and something in the comments.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
and
cool.
Alan Ford was here for a while ago.
Oh, hi, Alan.
Let's see. Anyone else pipe in that Cliff was said hi.
Hi, Cliff.
Yeah. So let's see.
Thank you, everyone.
I
We
think
really appreciate you being here.
I think we found. I think I found everyone who's been on here.
Alrighty.
Hang on. What do you mean,
Faster
David?
electricity.
What do you mean, David? Oh, in Australia. I get it. I get it.
Yeah, probably not. Maybe though. I don't know. Oh, hello.
Oh no, we saw that one. Okay.
Oh, we did. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So that brings us up to date.
Cool. So we will look for more of your questions. And yeah, Dale, was there more to your story here? Are you thinking about sharing some more stuff, or because I have some slides for you and I have the link prepared, and I think you wanted to share that was the capture form.
Yeah, if you want to do the share my link, that would be great. I have a really fun thing for you guys, everybody that's here. This is really fun. This is it's a free download. I never give these away. The website has 900 recordings. They're all encrypted and encoded, so they can't be copied, shared, or traded. But this one is called Tour of the Universe, and it's about 30-minute long, and it is so much fun. You have got to listen to this. We went to a really lot of trouble to get the encryption off of this thing to be able to let you guys download it. So hopefully this will work, and it'll be you'll really enjoy it.
Yeah, that's the one that worked for me out of the two, and I heard a very little bit of it, and I'm like, oh, this is so nice, but I got work to do. I had to stop. I will listen to the whole thing at some point, though. I know I will. It's really neat.
And if you want to put up my email and phone number, I'd be happy to talk. I have literally published many hundreds of papers on the technologies and on the science, and that I would be happy to share with people. The equipment, I have a manufacturer that finally figured out how to do a lot of the things that I really required. Well, they can be expensive. The LEDs can be expensive. For example, the red light mats that I use, if you went on the internet and you got the real deal, the set of mats to do what I do is $18,000. I've got a manufacturer though that I helped get into business to show him how to do things that won't be quite so expensive. But the problem is if you shop by price, if you do cold lasers and all the other things that are out there, some of that stuff is really ridiculous. And then some of it is so cheap that it doesn't work. So I've done a lot of comparisons and things where talk about the radiance and the milliwatts per centimeter squared of the different types of red light that are out there, the different types of LEDs and who uses them. And it's like when I called on people like Intel, I sold them 100 steppers. When I did that, it was the biggest semiconductor equipment sale in the history of the industry. But anyway, when you make a semiconductor chip, and it would be the same with LEDs, you don't get 100% yield. That's why they had, 5 or 6 different kinds of computers or things that they did, because you know what? Some of them at the time would be Pentiums and some of them would be, junk. And so the same kind of thing happens with the LEDs. So they may say that it's a 660, but it might be the end of the junk pile and it doesn't really perform to spec. So it's not just as easy as saying, well, here's a spec and let's go out and buy something. You have to test it and know that it's really going to be what it says it's going to be. And that's the same thing. This one is the funniest one of them all. People go, oh, you have blue light glasses? You go, yeah. Go, oh, well, they'll hurt you. No. Blue light is really important for mood. In fact, we had a big group of people up in Alaska and in the northern Canada area, native peoples to Canada and the Alaska area, that would use my technology to so they wouldn't get so depressed. It's the right frequency. When people say that video light is blue light, it's not. It's 50 and 60 hertz, and that's what the problem is. It's not that it's blue. It's not blue at all. It's all wavelengths, and it's just flashing at the frequency level that happens to put people into a seizure or or other things that people claim or don't claim that they do. So there's really a lot to know when you're talking about some of the science and things that they do, and it's right down to the N95 masks. 60% of what's coming into the U.S. are fakes. I mean, they'll all tell you. You can get that information from just anywhere. So today is becoming so globally polluted with knockoffs and fakes. It's just really hard. So if anybody wants to get a piece of equipment or do something for pain management, whether it's sciatic nerves. I had the band leader. Oh, I loved her. She came and she couldn't snap her fingers anymore. And she had a big concert coming up. She says, "Can you fix this?" I said, "Well, yeah, it's 10% I can and 10% I can't, and everybody else is in between." Excuse me. So she had 2 treatments on my equipment. I gave her the little tiny mat to take home, and in 1 week she came back and she says, "I'm snapping my fingers," and she was so excited. So then she sends me her trumpet players, and she said, "I'm down to 2 trumpet players out of 5. You've got to fix these people up." So the next thing we know, we're working on all the hands for the trumpet players, and then and I'm always surprised, but surprised that of the results that we get, because it's really interesting. Even gout, people that were not being able to even come into put the foot down, the gout's gone. And things that I think, well, I don't know, I haven't seen that one before. And then there we are. And so, I would just encourage everybody, if you have sciatic nerves, lower back pain, shoulders. Oh, I have somebody who today he broke his shoulder, and it had a lot of damage, and he couldn't move it at all. And he's been doing the red light for only 3 weeks, and he's been doing faithfully the vertical vibration. Today he showed me how he could lift his arm, his shoulder up to shoulder height. So, we have to take responsibility to take care of ourselves and do things that will help us, and not go and get another pill. Because, and the other thing that just rocked me, and I didn't really even know this, the steroid shots. Boston University did a really big study just recently, recently for me, 2 years ago. And what they found was steroid shots, it does more damage than it could possibly ever do in terms of managing the pain. What happens is that pain is a warning signal. It blocks the pain. And guess what? You keep on walking and it keeps on getting worse. And then you know what? When it wears off, guess what? You fall down because it's so painful. So we're not doing ourselves any good with all the medical treatments that we do. We have to take responsibility for ourselves, do self-care, and try to come up with ways to support people who are looking for solutions, and not try to go so woo-woo, but try to look at the science. There's even an insurance code for red light treatment. Now that's really, really mainstream when you get an insurance code.
Yep.
The only person that doesn't honor the or pay for the insurance code is Kaiser. But you know what? I've been a Kaiser member forever, and I'm going to go down there and straighten them out.
Yay. Good. All right. So if you have more questions, definitely ask. We do have a couple more segments in our show, and we will be watching for that. And we'll have Dale answer your questions for you, that kind of thing. And there's plenty more there. Well, let's talk about that in a minute. Jeff, go ahead with this.
Okay. Yep. Some stellar events this week. April 22nd through April 29th. Early birds with a low enough eastern horizon may see a string of planets in the east right before the sun rises, and the moon leads them for the next couple of days, although it kind of walks through the string of planets.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
It's beautiful looking.
Yeah.
It was too cloudy for us to go look, though.
Yep. There's a new Globe at Night project for 10 days, April 22nd through May 1st. Northern Hemisphere, you're looking for Leo. Southern Hemisphere, you're looking for Crux. You go outside, get a picture, report to the site.
And there's the link for that.
Yep. April 22nd through 23rd, Lyrid. Is it Lyrid?
Lyrid
Lyrid meteor shower peaks after midnight. The dates for the shower are the 16th through the 30th, and it peaks, as I said, 22nd through 23rd. So tonight, folks, best time is after midnight. It radiates from Lyra, and it peak rate is 10 to 20 per hour. So that's one every 5 to 10 minutes. So not a huge number of them, but if you spend a bit of time out there, you'll probably see one. The source is Thatcher 1861 L. I wonder if the L stands for Lyrid.
I don't know.
Or Lyra.
Well, that has to do with the comet.
Right.
So probably something else.
Yeah.
Probably something else.
Okay. April 23rd is the last quarter moon. It's a bit bright for the meteor shower, and it wanes after this. Lyrids may appear anytime in the date range.
Right.
April 24th, Saturn and the moon are in conjunction. April 25th, Mars and the moon are in conjunction. That's what I mentioned about the moon walking its way through the planets. April 26th,
yeah, it just keeps moving.
Venus and the moon are in conjunction, and Neptune and the moon are in conjunction. Not that you can see Neptune.
No.
April 27th is Weekly Space Hangout, catching up with Dr. Paul M. Sutter, aka the Spaceman. And Venus and Neptune are in conjunction. Again, you'll see one of those. April 28th, Space Tourism Conference. And the website, Space Tourism, conf.com. April 29th is our Friday night show. Dale and Springer returns. Find us Fridays at 9 p.m. Pacific time on the Everyday Spacer Facebook page and the Everyday Spacer YouTube channel. And Mercury is at its greatest eastern elongation.
And a special note here, there's a partial eclipse of the sun on the 30th of April. It's visible from the southeastern Pacific Ocean, the Arctic Peninsula, and southern South America, though. And speaking of eclipses, we could do a review of eclipses for the year or talk about them in general. What sounds good to you? We have some ongoing activities. The Space Prize, let me find that link, is launching in June, and this is a global worldwide contest to promote advancement of women in STEAM, and that's science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And in specific, they're going to focus on aerospace. This is open to 15 to 18-year-old young ladies worldwide, and this contest features a combination of written, video, and creative submissions. They have two cool grand prize though that are $250,000 worth of what they call private astronaut experiences. I'm pretty sure some of that is a 0G parabolic, loop in the in an airplane, so you experience the microgravity. There's the Nominate a Student with Perseverance. That closes April the 24th, the third round of that. This is for 6th through 8th grade students. Teachers and parents can recommend a young person in either public, private, and homeschools. There's 4 rounds total. The awardees will be announced May the 12th, and there's some pretty cool awards involving that. We've talked about that a lot, though. We checked again, and you can still add your name to the Artemis 1 test flight of the Space Launch System rocket and the Orion spacecraft. And this will go around the moon. And a bunch of us have already added our names. It goes onto a thumb drive, gets put on the flight around the moon, and you rack up a million miles or something, whatever it was. It's just for fun. You will not get to fly on it yourself, but you will get a cool graphic boarding pass.
Well, and if they keep finding problems with it, you get more time to put your name on it.
Yes, right. Yeah, Dale, did you have a question?
No, but you know what? If you're looking for scholarships, I'm a member of the 99s. I'm a licensed student pilot, and I'm also a licensed commercial drone pilot. But the 99s are ladies, and we have scholarships for ladies that want to go to space or learn to be pilots. That would be a wonderful place for them to start to get flight time and learn about space.
All right, yeah, let's add that to our list so we talk about it periodically. Because I like to add, the dates and if it's going to close and when things open, that kind of thing. So I don't know exactly how it works, but
Yeah, we'll get more info
Yeah.
after the show and add it for our next show.
yeah, excellent.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so if you or someone you know has done something interesting involving space exploration, science, or astronomy, we'd love to share our live. Join us again next Friday, April 29th. Deanne Springer returns to tell us more about her fascinating work.
And if there's something in particular you would like to know, go ahead and add that to the comments. We will talk with Dale offline about that. And I saw another comment come in. Is that right? Did you do that last one? 8. So.
AC, yeah. I think AC wanted more space stuff.
More space stuff.
Oh,
all right. So
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So maybe
that's why there's a part 2.
Space, please.
That's why there's a part 2, and so we'll talk more about your work with space stuff and supplying stuff for in there. Does that sound good to you, Dale?
Yes.
Okay. Good.
Awesome. Thanks so much. All right. We will continue to watch for your comments. Thank you so much. Of course, this is as much your show as it is our show. So help us, guide us along. We want to talk about the things that you want to hear about.
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much, Dale and AC and Daniel. And who else do we have? Tex and Dave and Cliff is in here somewhere. Yep. And Alan and God, I'm just scrolling through. Did I miss anybody?
I think
we got everybody. Yep. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here, and we love to have conversations with you all the time. All right. One last check. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you next week.